This is James Cameron's Avatar: The Game, a game for the PSP which drove me insane as a child because it's much like many PSP games, and compound that with the fact that it's a movie tie-in game, it's not very good. Like, I don't hate it or anything, but it could be better. And I never finished it as a kid either, so I have no idea how this game ends. I'm just pressing random buttons. Yeah, we'll end up with a 5. And we're starting with the first level. A matter of dignity. And I'm a tryhard, so maybe that's why I could never finish this game as a child.
"20,000 years of peace, balance, and harmony have come to an end. Once again, the world begins its descent into night. Slowly, the world begins to change. Once again, it is time for a new warrior to help prepare the people for the dark times to come. To emerge from the darkness in order to stand against it."
That's ominous. To this day, I have no idea what that means. I think it's just there to sound cool. The warrior was fearless. He was the last of a noble clan whose totemic animal was the deadliest land predator known to the people, the Thanator. Years ago, the newcomers had destroyed his home and robbed his clan of their sacred artifacts. The warrior had spent years watching them, observing them, learning their ways, their tactics, their language, waiting for the right moment to take back all that had been stolen from his people. Now the warrior watched the metal birds thunder through the sky toward the outpost. He knew that they were carrying his clan's artifacts, and he knew he would have to move fast to reclaim them, or else he would lose them forever. And so the warrior... I never understood why they had that "and so the warrior" line. It's very strange. It implies they're going to continue talking. And I get it's like transitioning from the story to the game itself, but it's just kind of awkward and weird. Yeah, so these little Awa spirits are upgrade points, effectively. You also get them from fighting enemies, So I don't know how that works in the context of the story, but being above someone makes me invisible. Cool. What just happened? I don't know what caused that. Concerning. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, this game is based on a movie called James Cameron's Avatar. Not to be confused with The Airbender. Which is probably why they had to have the word James Cameron in front of it, specifically so you didn't have to get into any copyright issues. Which I just realized is probably why they called it that. Anywho. So it's commonly been described as Pocahontas, but with giant blue Smurfs. I've never seen Pocahontas, so I can't confirm how true that is. But what I can say is that the movie itself was okay. It has a reputation of being very pretty looking, but the message behind the movie is pretty bland and unimpressive. So not exactly groundbreaking, and it came across like it was really trying to be. I'm trying to decide whether or not to get this guy. Yeah, Eywa spirits are inside people. That's strange, because from my understanding they're like space jellyfish. Well, air jellyfish that float in the air like a... Like in the movies, they kind of looked like jellyfish mixed with those little things that would spawn off of thorns. You know those little you know those plants, like those little I'm struggling to remember how to describe these things. Like those things that you would catch in like summer and winter, and just you would try to catch them, and the idea is that if you caught one you could make a wish on it or something. Like when I was a kid we called them fairies, but I don't know what they're actually called now that I think about it, outside of me just knowing that they're the seeds of thorns and thistles and such. And he got me. I thought I could get him. I thought I was being clever. I was not. I pushed my luck and pushed it over the edge. Anyway, Eywa spirits, floating jellyfish in the sky. I've completely lost my train of thought. And I have no one to blame for it but myself. So instead, I'm going to change the subject and discuss the game, which is very out of left field. This game practically has nothing to do with the movie outside of the fact that... I should probably talk about the plot of the movie to explain everything that's going on here right now. Put simply, human beings show up, effectively colonize the place. They want a metal called unobtainium because it's apparently really very rare in the universe. And a big deposit of it is underneath these blue people's home tree, which is basically their equivalent of a town center that everyone lives in. The main character is there to try to convince the natives to let them tear down their home, effectively, which I don't know why they thought that would happen. Long story short, the main character is put into a... His mind gets transferred into a flesh suit of a Na'vi, which is the name of the blue people. And then he effectively goes native, for lack of a better phrase, and basically turns on humanity to save the Na'vi and their home. This, and then he stays as a Na'vi forever. And just never bothers going back home ever again. Also, Sigourney Weaver is in the movie, and that's going to be partially relevant later on in the game because she shows up every now and again, I think. She shows up at least once in this game, and she can also turn into a Na'vi skin suit. Look, it's been like a decade since I've seen the movie. Please don't judge my summary of the plot too harshly. Wow, I was completely careless there and nearly got away with it. Also, the first time I recorded playing this game, because this is the second time I've done it, I actually noticed that a lot of the game mechanics are very Assassin's Creed-y. Like, the game clearly wants you to hide more than they actually want you to fight, which is probably why the game's... which is probably why the game's fighting animations are very not well thought out, to put it nicely. I mean, it's literally just this over again, essentially. Oh, these little health spots were also in the movie as well. They were pretty cool. Yeah, the planet itself was actually, I don't want to say thought up, but it was very pretty. Which, in a movie where the entire point is you want the main characters, you want the audience to agree with the main characters that this is worth protecting, having an environment that looks very aesthetically pleasing is pretty important. So I'd say it succeeded in that regard. Because it did really fun things with its environment, like floating islands, essentially. A lizard who flew by spinning. And these things, where in the movie, if you touched them, they would close up and shrink. Similar to sleepy grass. It's basically very big sleepy grass, which is an actual thing in the world. Except sleepy grass is a lot smaller. So it's not as impressive. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, I find the Na'vi's form of, like, spiritualism very interesting, because it wasn't just... Because it's not like they believe nature is, like, a good thing and needs to be preserved. Like, their biology... Certain traits of their biology are dependent on nature. Like, they have powers, effectively superpowers, that allow them to tap into natural forces. Nothing like Poison Ivy from DC Comics or anything, but their hair braids are effectively a neural network that they can merge with other life's neural networks to telekinetically communicate with each other. Like, if you have a mount, like, they can ride these horse-like things. And instead of just training the creature to communicate to and obey commands, they actually link their neural network in their hair with the neural network of the creature they're riding like a horse. So they're telepathically connected. So they can literally tell their steed what they want them to do with a thought. Which I think is very interesting and explains the lack of technological progression of their species, because species because they don't have to.
There's a virus harming the creatures here. Many believe it's something we brought from Earth. I've got a few men doing tests to see what it could be. We'll know soon, I'm sure. For now, the men are calling it Earth Syndrome. Not a very original name, I know, but appropriate nonetheless.
What news from Lockhart?
Zone 7 and Zone 16 are showing high occurrences of unobtainium. Nothing like Site 17, but they still show promise.
The others?
It's too premature to say.
I see. Conrad, I want to ask you something.
Yes, sir? What is it?
Are you aware of all activities in the Lockhart area?
I don't understand the question.
You understand the question. Are your men under control?
Everything is under control, sir.
And what about Sean? Is he under control?
Yes, he's under control.
Good. As you know, we trust you.
Yes.
Now, other matters. I read your last correspondence about the virus.
Yes?
You know what? I don't think we'll write anything about that in the reports. Not just yet. Not until we know for sure.
I understand.
Good. I knew you would. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.